Hi, my name is Kendra, and I am here today to talk to you about two videos that I recently watched. One called The Secret and the other called The New Era of Positive Psychology. The first video I watched was The New Era of Positive Psychology, and in this video a psychologist by the name of Dr. Seligman explains what he calls the 11th reason to be optimistic. I guess Discover had come out with 10 reasons, and he was sharing his take on what the 11th would be. He had an interview with CNN, who asked him what he would describe the state of psychology today, and he concluded, not good enough, which he then continues to explain why. He starts by speaking of past psychology, sharing with everyone that people used to perceive psychology as finding out what was wrong with a person. 60 years ago, he says that none of the disorders were treatable, and yet today, 14 are treatable and 2 are curable. This is when a science came about. Him and a few other psychologists realized that disorders could be measured in classifications, taking people's personal history into consideration. He states that back in the day, psychologists became what he referred to as victimologists, who would forget about improving normal lives to make relatively happy people happier and more fulfilled. He starts to explain his vision of positive psychology, being that psychology should be equally as concerned with people's strengths as their interests, and also equally interested in building the best things in life, as repairing the worst, by making lives of normal people fulfilling. And he says that by making it more fulfilling, meaning nurturing high talent. Finding that the science of positive psychology could be measured with correlational data, he was referring to, he had created a sort of a questionnaire that you can go through online to answer different kinds of questions, and that would determine how much of a, I guess, happy person that you are. The way that they could classify people by the results of the happiness test is by seeing what parts of the brain they use, which led to the results of the test finding that extremely happy people are extremely social, not spending time alone, and all of which were in romantic relationships. He began explaining 3 of what he calls happy lives, starting with the pleasant life, which he describes as having as many pleasures as possible and learning the skills to amplify the pleasures. Then there's the good life, a life of engagement in your work, parenting, love, and leisure, where time stops for you when you're doing something that you love. And the third of which he calls the meaningful life, which he describes as knowing your strengths and using them in service of something larger than you, which would make you happy, feel more fulfilled. He goes on to compare psychology with technology, entertainment, and design, saying that technology, entertainment, and design can increase happiness and emotion, along with increasing meaning and engagement, which is what he sees in the future. The second video that I watched, The Secret, was about what a group of therapists, authors, writers, quantum physicists, and philosophers called the law of attraction. Each person spoke about the law of attraction from what was their own perspectives, stating that you become and attract what you feel and think about most. They claim that when you dwell on something, that's what you reflect, which is negative energy to the universe. They state that the law of attraction is not biased to what you want and don't want. It is always working, like the law of gravity, as your thoughts are constantly flowing. The people in this video did not have any legitimate science to back up their claims. The only scientifically speaking claim that was referred to was when an author, Lisa Nichols, stated that an affirmative thought is 100 times more powerful than a negative thought. The rest of the claims were more along the lines of opinions of different people, saying how knowing to use the secret, which in this case is the law of attraction, knowing how to use that, how it worked for them. In comparing both of these videos, in terms of scientific claims, I would say the new era of positive psychology is definitely more scientifically sound. This was very easy for me to decide just based on the fact that Dr. Seligman had scientifically proven his studies on mental health by doing different tests and just looking at the real live data. And The Secret was based on non-scientific claims of how your thoughts and feelings control the outcome of your success and happiness. For example, Dr. Seligman, with the test, was able to gather data to prove that happy people are extremely social and don't spend a lot of time alone. Whereas one of the therapists in The Secret video, named Bill Harris, affirms his claims by telling a story of a gay male who was a student of his, who had shared with him that he was struggling at work because of how cruel people were to him, going as far as saying how when he would walk down the street, people would harass him just for his sexual preference. Bill shares with his student Robert that he should focus more on what he wanted, and the more and more Robert did focus more on what he wanted, the better things got, because within 6 to 8 weeks Robert emailed Bill relaying good news that everyone who would pick on him at work had either left the job or was now accepting him. And when he would walk down the street, nobody was harassing him anymore. But that wasn't necessarily scientific. In my current position at work, I notify all insurance companies when someone is admitted to the hospital in order for the insurance company to authorize the patient's stay and reimburse the hospital for the patient's care. The stress in this line of work is being able to multitask and make sure all the authorizations are obtained in a timely fashion, because a hospital stay is very pricey, and if an authorization isn't obtained, it falls on the person that missed the patient if the bill gets denied. A time dealing unsuccessfully with stress would be when a bill gets denied. At times I get discouraged because it may be a small thing that I miss, so I get upset with myself. And I could let that ruin my day. But a lot of times I am successful in dealing with the stress at work because I'm very optimistic and I take constructive criticism in a positive way, using it to improve my daily work process and workflow instead of letting it bring me down. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.